Thank you very much. So we are half an hour ahead of the next milestone, lunch. So I'll try to stick to the time I have. And it's not a keynote, it's just, let's call it a walkthrough with you about what we do at the Council of Europe on digital citizenship education, and maybe also to kind of provoke some ideas for your future thinking or for your thinking for future projects. So first of all, before starting, the event titled Strengthening EU Values Through Digital Participation. Two things, just to provoke you, not expecting an answer. What do we mean by EU values? What makes values EU, European? And what are European values? This is, I think, something we should think carefully, because democracy is one of the values mentioned in the acquis of the European Union, also at the Council of Europe. But remember, a couple years ago, the president of the European Commission was visiting India, and she was calling India one of the great democracies. So I leave it here for you to think about it. And also digital participation, is it either participating in the digital environment, or is it using digital to participate, generally in democracy, in the community life? So how many, I don't have a Mentimeter, it's a good idea, but can you raise your hands? How many of you heard about or know Council of Europe? Okay, wow, quite some. So this is now my habit that to start all my presentations with one slide about the Council of Europe. This is the pointer, right? Okay. Okay, this is just the outline of my presentation, but it's not relevant anymore, because I will improvise. The Council of Europe is the the leading human rights institution in the European continent. So, and then we serve more than, remember your map from yesterday, 23 countries. Now we are serving more than 700 million citizens in 46 member states. So it's a bit larger than the European Union. And also we are dealing, or we are working in the areas that you see on the screen, from education for democratic citizenship to money laundering, digital citizenship education to health issues and environment. So it's a broad range of topics that we are working, but we are working to promote and protect human rights, democracy, and the rule of law. That is the basis of our acquis. So again, coming back to the EU values, in every Council of Europe standard, standard setting documents, let's call a recommendation, it starts with this sentence, I quote, "The aim of the Council of Europe is to achieve a greater unity between its member states for the purpose of safeguarding and promoting the ideals and principles which are their common heritage." So when you think about the EU values, please think about also the common heritage of the countries that are members of the Council of Europe. So this is a little bit, again, continuing with provoking your thoughts in terms of EU values. Okay, so digital citizenship education, a little bit background. I will go really quickly. Before 2016, the Council of Europe has been working on education for democratic citizenship since 1997, and human rights education took over the flag from the United Nations, which started in 1994, this human rights education, and has been leading this field since 1997. And then Council of Europe has been working also on protecting the rights of the child, and then trying to make sure their safety online. But in 2016, the Steering Committee for Education decided to launch a new program that aims to empower learners, not just protect them, because this is an obligation by the duty bearer, the public authorities, but also to empower them through education. So when they are alone, when they are not supported, they should be able to stand on their feet, and then, to tackle this digital evolution, I would call. So you see on the screen the steps. We have done a lot since then. You know, there's a Committee of Ministers recommendation on developing and promoting digital citizenship education. We created a network of education professionals, again in the same year. And then later we have produced, I will show some of them to you, resources to support educators, parents, and learners. But, you know, despite all the efforts, we have noticed that there's a little bit of progress in this field. So we proposed the Ministers of Education in 2023 to celebrate or to initiate a European Year of Digital Citizenship Education. In 2005, Europe celebrated European Year of Citizenship through education. And then in the 20th anniversary of this year, we are marking it with this, also underlining this move from analog, I would say, to digital citizenship education. Actually, doesn't change a lot. It's just, you know, making emphasis on digital. And so why do we need digital citizenship education or citizenship education in general? The European Commission colleague already showed this to you. There are opportunities, obviously, for also participation, as this is the topic of this conference. One of the participants said, you know, or the professor said he could vote from Italy for Denmark, right? So imagine that there's an opportunity using decentralized system, not necessarily blockchain, that is secure, that you can even vote for single things. Okay, what should be the color of the main street in our city? It's just quick, you know, you vote for everything. Like, oh, I know that may sound really ambitious, but there's a possibility now to do it on the spot very quickly. But you voting for something, does it mean really a meaningful participation? As long as you have, it's an informed decision, yes. But otherwise, I doubt it. So DC is trying to help learners of all ages to get the best out of digital technologies and digital environment. On the other hand, of course, there are challenges to human rights, democracy, and well-being, and many more. So for democracy, speakers before me mentioned disinformation, manipulation of public opinion, and also foreign interference through social media in elections in different countries. Even it goes beyond your borders. You are trying to influence another nation's future or decision-making. This is really, and well-being, the impact of social media, addiction, online addiction, etc., we all know it. So I will not dive into that. So also, DC is trying to help learners to overcome these challenges. The concept is, you have seen it a few minutes ago. Again, the core is not just protecting learners, but empowering them. Learners of all ages. So there is this lifelong learning dimension, and starting from the early ages with the necessary competencies. And when we say necessary competencies, you have those that we introduced in 2018, plus, I'm sure that you know all this, DigiComp. So in the European context, there's much emphasis on DigiComp. Those are the skills you need. Of course, you need to know how to use a computer. You need to know how to connect to internet, etc., all this now AI literacy. But you know what our framework or digital citizenship adds to the value or complementarity is that what do you do with those skills? You see, you need a purpose. You need a kind of mindset that also kind of encourages you to use those to participate in the community life. You see, you make meaning out of these competencies, digital competencies. So again, when we introduced this, the competence framework landscape, there were only attitudes, skills, knowledge, and critical understanding. We introduced the fourth dimension. And now if you go to OECD, to UNESCO, or wherever you go, you see this four-dimensional competence frameworks. And then if you are young enough, like me, you may remember this old stereo, what is it called? The players, the cassette players. There were equalizers, you know. It's a combination of any of these competencies, we call them 20. It's not just one of them, but depending on the context, your age or whatsoever, or the situation, you are expected to put in place or put into work one or more of the skills, competencies. It's what we call a competence for democratic culture is a combination of those four. So again, continuing on the concept, it's a comprehensive and holistic framework that consists of 10 digital domains. Why I say holistic? Because you heard from the previous speakers, we heard here in general multiple literacies, digital skills or digital competences. The thing is that if you think them in different components, they are disconnected, they are segregated. So we are trying to help also to bring together all these literacies or different skill sets under digital citizenship education, so that really empowering learners. Otherwise, here you learn about digital literacy, here you learn about citizenship, there needs to be a connection. And then this DC is there to help you with this, to connect them. And those 10 digital domains are grouped under 3 clusters, being online. I'm not going to read all this. You will have access to my presentation. And well-being online, this is obviously necessary to ensure well-being of everyone. And rights online. And you see there active participation that is playing an active role and making responsible decisions to shape the digital environment. Facebook has roughly or maybe more than 2 million members, right? That is one of the oldest one. Do you think you have any decision-making power? How Facebook is governed, how it is designed, how it is colored? Millions of people, users of Twitter, did they have any say in the change of its title? People like Twitter, they didn't want X, but the owner of Twitter changed it to X. You see, participation, getting involved in the decision-making, that happens in different places. So that's why, we need to also think about different forms and innovative ways of participation and think of also the balances in the democracies, modern democracies. Okay, what is a digital citizen? This is not me. This is Murati. So there's a TI. So Murati is a person who is a lifelong learner anywhere, anytime, using any possible opportunity and mean to learn. So open for learning, open for thriving. And he engages competently and positively with digital technologies. That is it. DC is more with engaging digital technology and environment. It's not about a specific technology like, AI literacy. Actively participates in civic life, from petitions to policy, but this is also online and offline. It's not, we don't see any disconnection between on and offline life. And he respects others' rights and dignity, especially when no one is watching. This is important. We can be anonymous in the internet. We can do very bad things and then, swear people, criticize them harshly, but this is about us. If we have these attitudes or the competencies, we do not harm other people, respect their rights. So, say bye to Murat, yeah? Resources, of course, we have developed many resources. And the important thing to underline is that they are coming from the Council of Europe. We did a big survey in 2020, just during the COVID pandemic, with over 21,000 parents across 46 member states. And parents told us, we need resources coming from trusted sources, not any resources. Of course, you can think of these resources like leaflets, lesson plans. Those are developed in the first 2 months of the pandemic, by the way, to help educators. And then we have, online courses. We have even animations. Think of them not just the final products or just the only products you can use for DCE. Those are like recipes, your mother's, grandmother's recipe. You take it, you change it. It's just to giving you an idea, and we cannot produce countless resources for every member state. It's not possible. But again, we can guide or help you to develop resources with this being the examples. Also, we have books and booklets. As you can see on the screen, we are also working on video games, video game culture, and then just make a point, I want to make a point. online games or video games, the chat rooms in video games, can be considered a new civic space. Huh? There are many, there are good things happening, very bad things happening, but it might be a new civic space that many young people are already participating. And when I say young people, not necessarily adolescents, according to Video Games Europe, the most players of online games are between the age of 45 and 60 something, you see? Anyway, so those are the active voters. Maybe this can be utilized or beneficial to enhance civic participation or building democratic competencies. So among these resources, I want to talk briefly, dive into a resource or tool we developed recently, which will be piloted soon, what we call DC Planner. This is a curriculum framework for digital citizenship education. So it's not a competence framework because we heard from teachers, that competency frameworks might be difficult for them to translate into classroom activities. That's why we worked with more than 60 educators across from 30 member states, including curriculum developers or designers, educators, policymakers, and we developed 320 learning outcomes, clustered by 4 age groups and the 10 digital domains you saw on the screen. So the idea is that to give some ideas to teachers. Imagine that you're a history teacher, and then there's a relevant topic that you can talk about distortion of historical facts using internet or social media. Here is the moment that you can talk about it, 15 minutes. It gives an idea to you, a history teacher, how to have a healthy and open conversation with kids. You don't have to call it necessarily digital citizenship education course or throughout the year to teach students digital citizenship education. So those learning outcomes, you can take them as ideas for discussion, or you can embed them into your daily teaching. So the purpose and the features, it's an easy and effective way to integrate DC into school curriculum. That's the main goal. And then it's flexible to meet the needs of variety of education professionals. You can use it for curriculum review in your country. You can use it for school curricula. You can use it to develop resources. So the idea is to have a kind of a framework that connect the dots from different, between the themes and topics that can support teaching and learning digital citizenship education. And it focuses on teaching key principles, not going too much into detail, and it's simple to use in formal and non-formal settings. Soon we will launch a call for expression of interest to educators across Europe to pilot this. And then next year, we are hoping to develop some classroom activities. You see the learning outcomes in the core of this repository. It's the first step. We will develop classroom activities, I wouldn't call them lesson plans, to give again some ideas to teachers how they can use this learning outcomes and create their own classroom activities. But we think that they might appreciate some examples. That's why that's what we do next year. So we have a network of education professionals from 30 member states of the Council of Europe. Those are, we call them DC promoters. So they help us to develop DC further and promote in their respective countries. Since 2019, they are great people, 1 or 2 persons per country, but the results are not at the very large, but it helps us to progress in this field. So now I want to talk briefly about European Year of Digital Citizenship Education. In the Council's history, there are 3 European years. There are 2 institutions in Europe who can call for a European year, the Council of Europe and the European Union. So in the first 2 of the European years, we did together with the European Commission. 2001, European Year of Languages, and 2005, European Year of Citizenship through Education. And now, European Year of Digital Citizenship Education is happening now, and you're involved. And you saw our logo in the had a slide of this event, thanks to the organizers to consider this activity within the European year. So why we need it this year? I mentioned briefly. We did our best to propel DCE, but there was a need for uptake of DCE as a political priority. So we presented the idea to the ministers of education, and they welcomed it, and they designated the European 2025 as the European year. So we'll see the results next year. We are collecting some feedback through DC promoters and then our steering committee. We will be happy to invite you to the second DC forum in May next year to share the results with you. I mean, the European year has 5 key goals. First and foremost, awareness raising. What is DCE? Because it's a bit complex term. It's not easy to understand. Awareness of what it is and then why it is important, and also understanding and building capacity on digital citizenship education, and set this as a long-term policy in the member states. Also enhance collaboration between different sectors, including public, private, and civil sectors. Finally, facilitating access to resources in this field. Of course, there are really ambitious goals. It is not possible to achieve all these goals within a year and 12 months. That's why we are developing or working on a roadmap for strengthening digital citizenship education in the next 4 or 5 or 6 years. So, I mean, there are actions submitted by 16 member states. Those are not individual activities, but activity plans or action plans. And so far, on the website, you can find them, when you go. It's the classical, it's nothing new. You go and then you learn about the actions, but they are mainly on awareness raising. But also there are some research, there's some teacher training, etc., etc. More than 200 actions submitted to us, and we'll see how many of them are realized and what are the results, and then we compile them into an impact assessment report. The way forward, so that is basically the outline of the roadmap that I mentioned. Again, we don't stop here. We will continue promoting digital citizenship education. And this is a shared endeavor of the 46 member states. I mentioned earlier, there are bits and pieces here and there. Much has been done on media and information literacy, thanks to UNESCO in the last, 25, 30 years. And there is a lot going on in digital competencies, digital literacy, thanks to European Commission. And there are actions especially after COVID, on well-being of students. But in the launch conference of the European year, some of them were presented, but the audience, the participants told us that the Council of Europe should connect the dots. So bring together all these activities and maybe lead them under the heading of digital citizenship education. So there are, of course, clear links to some overarching policy instruments or, strategies. First and foremost, our Secretary General has proposed a new democratic pact for Europe. He's really insisting on this, and he got also political support. And there are 3 pillars in this new democratic pact: learning and living democracy. Coming back to what you said, Christina, it's not about learning about democracy. Yeah? You need to live democracy. You can talk 10 hours about democracy, but then you are kind of, wasting people's time. So you need to live democracy, respect their time, their questions, etc. And also there is a clear link. Sorry, the second pillar is, I always forget that one, excuse me. The third one, which is connected to DC also, innovating for democracy. So using different means, different solutions, whatever, to innovate democracy, which means how to participate in democracy, using digital maybe, using other means, etc. That are where the roadmap links to the new democratic pact. And the European Commission is in the public consultation stage of a new action plan, combating cyberbullying. And this is an important matter, as you can guess. That is also very linked with this new action plan. Digital education action plan is obvious. It's on digital competencies, but there's a clear link with that. Political acceptance, we got this, our Committee of Ministers back in May took a decision, and they said they would welcome the development of this roadmap. So this is really rare in an intergovernmental organization. You propose many new ideas, but only a few of them got this high-level political support and acceptance. Okay, as it is, we are also working on artificial intelligence and education, obviously. But among the other priorities or work we do, this is the one that is really closely linked to digital citizenship education. First of all, when we propose or introduce the DCE, we said that it is not technology specific. It's not about only one technology, but it covers all the emerging technologies. Then you may ask, why are you now talking about AI literacy? Why it is special? Because, colleagues, AI is the first ever technology that can mimic human behavior. It can mimic human behavior. I'm not saying it replaces human beings. And then it requires special attention, that's why. But we still see that within the framework of digital citizenship education. What we do actually, we are working on a draft recommendation, Committee of Ministers recommendation on AI literacy. It's a three-dimensional concept we are proposing. We don't try to, yeah, I also see in that. I think it's my two last slides, so I will finish. We are not trying to define what AI literacy means. We are trying to propose a three-dimensional conceptual definition or conceptual model, which has the technical dimension, what is AI, how it works, how it is developed. And the second one, the practical dimension, is how AI can be used effectively, ethically, whatever, in learning, teaching, and assessment. And the third one, which we think the most important dimension, is the human dimension. This is the impact of AI on humans, human rights, democracy, the rule of law, and many other things like environment, on gender equality, on health, etc. All these are covered under human dimension, where there is the clear link to the digital citizenship education. And for us, the human dimension is central, and it addresses the Council of Europe core values, democracy, human rights, and the rule of law. And this is why we are emphasizing this, because there is lack of sufficient emphasis on this human dimension. There are some, but I will show in the next slide the comparison. And it's also time-proof, this human dimension. It's about its impact, not about the technology. So what happens next time when quantum computing, for example, comes to reality, still this human dimension is valid. Okay, I will skip that. I would like to just share this with you on the next slide. This is a recent comparison of different AI literacy concepts. There are over 113 or something. And then our experts compared them according to these three dimensions. And you can see we are the one who is focusing on the human dimension. I mean, the recent EU OECD AI literacy framework focusing on the practical and technical dimension, a little bit about ethics of using AI, but it's really limited in the human dimension part, just to give you a kind of a comparative idea. And okay, so this is the end of my presentation. I hope I didn't bore you before lunch. Maybe you are more enthusiastic to go and have lunch. Oh, it's enough. If you want to know more, you can scan the QR code. This is the new fashion. Or you can write to us, and then we will get back to you. Thank you for your attention.